My story began one night, what seemed like a typical evening at a Korean karaoke bar. I was David Jung, belting out a pop song. I looked no different than any other middle-aged office worker trying to find some post-work fun. But the moment I stepped into the hallway and the room door slammed shut, I shed the disguise. The fake smile vanished, replaced by cold, sharp eyes. Little did anyone know, this office drone was once a U.S. intelligence operative on a mission. At the same time, in a high-end hotel not far away, a woman named Rebecca was also playing a role to perfection. She wore a fake pregnant belly to blend in. Her target was Karpov, a high-ranking Russian ambassador. She feigned a painful cramp and approached the man's bodyguards. When the inexperienced guards let their guard down to help, she quickly swapped the ambassador's phone. When Karpov received a call later, the phone triggered a fatal seizure. He died on the spot. Rebecca's escape was equally impressive. When cornered in the elevator, she transformed from a frail, pregnant woman into a killing machine, taking down a Russian agent with terrifying efficiency. As soon as the door opened, dozens of guns were aimed at her, but somehow, she still managed to escape. All the while, I was discreetly tailing her from behind, but not for backup. My mission was to apprehend her. Rebecca fled in a hurry. The first thing she did was change her appearance to shake off anyone who might be following. She also swapped her elegant office attire for something more discreet and everyday. This rapid transformation demonstrated the instincts of a well-trained operative, always one step ahead. I couldn't catch her, not because she changed her appearance, but because even using her colleague's car, Rebecca slipped away like a ghost. Meanwhile, at a secret location, a woman named Juno, the ruthless director of a private intelligence organization called Caddis, was torturing her own agent. She was a cold-blooded and cruel woman, and had just discovered that her organization's survival was at stake. Caddis was a phantom organization, impossible for any government to detect. When the agent finally confessed to leaking data, Juno showed no mercy and killed him on the spot. Immediately after, her son Oliver called to report that the operation in Korea was a success, but their entire team had been wiped out by a mysterious man. Juno flew into a rage when she realized the target was Rebecca, her top assassin. After losing track of Rebecca, I cleaned up all traces. Then I went to a train station, but I couldn't get her image out of my head. I called my wife Yunju and told her I wouldn't be home until I brought Rebecca back with me. That's when the heartbreaking truth was revealed. Rebecca is my daughter, and 9 years ago I had to fake my death to protect her from my own former organization. I had to abandon her to give her a chance at a normal life. Yunju, Rebecca's stepmother, begged me to stop, not because she hated Rebecca, but because she feared Caddis would hunt me down. But I had run away long enough. I was willing to risk everything to get my daughter back from the organization that had turned her into a killing machine. Meanwhile, Juno and Oliver were on their way to Korea. A sense of unease washed over them. They feared that if Rebecca's operation was exposed and made public, the CIA would have an excuse to eliminate Caddis, an organization that had been hidden in the shadows for decades. With the Caddis headquarters on high alert, I had to act. I knew I needed to get Rebecca's attention, so I decided to leave a trail. I deliberately left an address in the car and smashed the windshield. I knew an assassin with its instincts would recognize something was amiss. After setting the trap, I went to an old friend's noodle shop, Shik Choi. The shop was just a front. Shik Choi was a master forger, specializing in fake IDs and passports. We reminisced. The truth is, I used to be a part of Caddis, even one of the co-founders. On a mission years ago, my entire team was wiped out by a terrorist group, and I was the sole survivor. To protect my young daughter Rebecca from sharing the same fate, I had Shik Choi help me fake my death. This time, I needed his help again, to get fake passports for us to escape to Vietnam after I rescued her. Shik Choi knew this was a dangerous request, but he agreed to help because I had saved his life once before. On the other hand, Rebecca and her team had found my car, and just as I predicted, she found the address I left. Without a moment's hesitation, she and the team prepared to apprehend the target. At the same time, Juno arrived at the Caddis branch in South Korea and warned Rebecca that their target was many times more dangerous than anyone they had ever faced. In the organization's 2-decade history, no one had ever disrupted a Caddis operation like this. Afterwards, at the safe house, I prepared for the confrontation. I meticulously placed explosives throughout the house, and as a gesture of affection, I made hotteok, a Korean sweet pancake, which was a favorite childhood snack. I hoped the familiar taste would trigger memories and make it hesitate. As Rebecca and her team stormed the house, they moved with great caution. In the kitchen, Rebecca found the plate of hotteok. She froze, her mind flooded with memories of her father. Now, it realized its target was not a stranger. It was its father. While Rebecca was still stunned, I detonated the series of explosives. A shootout ensued. and every member of Rebecca's team was taken down. Enraged, it stormed into the final room, a storage area, determined to kill whoever had taken down its team. But instead it found a photo of a little girl and her father. That's when I appeared. Rebecca was completely stunned. The father she thought had died 9 years ago, the father she had mourned, was standing right in front of her, perfectly healthy. I tried to explain everything, but Rebecca was too shocked and angry, coupled with a deep sense of betrayal. The pain she had endured after my fake death, starting when she was only 14, ignited her rage. She reacted instinctively, attacking and taking me down. Rebecca then called Juno to report that the target had been neutralized, but she was furious that Juno hadn't told her that the target was her biological father. Juno was no less shocked than Rebecca to learn I was still alive. She believed I had been dead all this time. Realizing the immense threat I posed, Juno secretly ordered the remaining members of Rebecca's team to kill me. Meanwhile, torn between loyalty to Juno and the newly revealed truth, Rebecca chose to protect her father. She had to kill her own teammates to save me, ensuring I wouldn't die a second time. Rebecca knew there was no turning back from Caddis. Juno would now see her as a traitor. Her only choice was to go with her father. The next day, we stopped at a convenience store for supplies. I told her we would pick up new passports from Shik Choi and flee to Vietnam. But Rebecca wasn't convinced by my plan. She found a moment alone in the restroom to call Juno, hoping to convince her that she was still loyal. Their relationship was mother-daughter-like, and Juno had molded Rebecca into an assassin since she was a teenager. Juno told her to come back, playing on the deep loyalty that Rebecca had been trained in for years. Unaware of the call, I panicked when Rebecca didn't emerge from the restroom. I thought she had run off, but she was waiting for me outside. We headed towards Busan, waiting for the passports to be sent. On the way, we had to pass through a strict police checkpoint, and I knew instantly Juno was behind it. A tense confrontation ensued, and a brutal shootout began, but with perfect coordination, my daughter and I took down the police and escaped. Meanwhile, Juno and Oliver, failing to capture me, devised a new plan to kidnap my wife, Yoonju, knowing I would surely come to her rescue. At the same time, we are introduced to a new character, an air conditioning repairman named Lee Gunn. He was at the home of a wealthy couple to repair their air conditioning and security camera system. The landlady offered him a persimmon as thanks for his work, but his friendly demeanor vanished, replaced by a cold, deadly stare. He calmly told the couple that the husband had stolen money from a mafia organization, and he was an assassin hired by another organization called Arirang. He was hired to kill them. After Lee eliminated the target, he received a new contract from Juno to kill me and capture Rebecca alive. Meanwhile, Rebecca and I abandoned our plan to go to Busan and instead went to my safe house in Daegu. Here, the tension between us finally eased. Rebecca, who was once full of resentment, began to open up to her father. We even had tea together and sang a song from her childhood, a small moment of peace amidst all the chaos. Unbeknownst to Rebecca, I had put a strong sedative in her tea, and she passed out. While she was unconscious, I searched her belongings and phone to ensure there were no tracking or listening devices. Back at Caddis headquarters, Juno had a visitor in Senator Dawson, a powerful man who had also been her advisor from her CIA days. He came to Korea to investigate the assassination of Russian Ambassador Karpov, and he was highly suspicious of Juno's involvement. Juno remained calm, denying everything. In short, when Rebecca woke up, she was furious because I had drugged her. In her anger, she said she wanted to go back to Juno, the woman who had cared for her since she was a child. But I told her the truth. Juno never loved her as a daughter. She only saw her as a tool, an unfeeling killing machine. Rebecca was enraged by this and lunged at her father, but the sedative was still in her system, and she was no match for me. When Rebecca calmed down, I sat down and explained why I faked my death 9 years ago. My team and I were on a mission in the Philippines when we were ambushed. I was the sole survivor. In the terrorists' hideout, I found a dossier containing my family's information and discovered they were all targets. I faked my death to make them think I was dead and remove my family from their blacklist. Rebecca was stunned. She understood my decision but couldn't accept that she had to live as an orphan for 9 years. I apologized and promised to be a good father to her. Our emotional moment was interrupted by a frantic call from Yoonju, saying she was being followed by Caddis agents and Lee's men at the train station. Hearing this, I told Rebecca to stay put while I went to save my wife. I arrived at the station and with silent precision took down all the agents. Then, using a walkie-talkie, I sent a warning to Juno, threatening to hunt her and every Caddis agent down if they ever dared to come near my family again. Juno, in a panic, sent her men to take me down, but as they closed in, Rebecca appeared and joined the fight. My child and I split up to face the overwhelming numbers of enemies and took them all down. Although Rebecca and I took down the agents, we were unexpectedly confronted by Lee. Lee was no pushover, and during the subsequent fight, he landed a vicious blow, driving a deep stab into my side. With Rebecca's help, I managed to board a train to escape. Rebecca was horrified at her father's wound and tried to give me first aid, but her focus shifted when my wife, Yoonju, and my young daughter Minhee appeared. The sight stirred a wave of jealousy within Rebecca. It was painful to know that her father had started a new family without her, and it was even more painful to see that he seemed to love his new daughter more than he loved her. As Rebecca was tending to my wound, I called Sheik Choi and urged him to send the passports immediately, knowing that Juno and her team would soon find us. On the other hand, Rebecca couldn't hold back and started questioning Yoonju, demanding to know how her father could move on so easily when she had lost him for 9 years. Rebecca was heartbroken, feeling her world was completely unfair. After all she had been through, she now had to face the reality of having a stepmother and a half-sister. I, feeling the weight of my past actions, could only apologize for not telling her about Yoonju from the beginning. In a clever move, I stopped the train by pulling the emergency brake, and we all escaped before the next station to evade Juno's pursuit. We ran to the nearest port and managed to jump onto a truck heading for Busan. Before leaving, I subtly placed a bloodied rag on another truck, knowing that would fool Lee and the Caddis agents. My plan worked perfectly, and the enemy followed the wrong vehicle. The next day, the family finally arrived at a safe house in Busan. Yoonju was worried, fearful for Minhee's safety. I promised her that their daughter would be safe, and since it was her birthday that day, I felt even more guilty. I vowed to Yoonju that I would ensure Minhee's safety first, before proceeding with my own plan. Meanwhile, Juno is under a lot of stress. Senator Dawson is breathing down her neck, and he suspects her son, Oliver, killed a CIA informant in Korea. Oliver vehemently denies the accusation, but Juno doesn't believe her son. The only person she truly trusts is Rebecca. This blatant favoritism makes Oliver feel like an unwelcome stepchild. He argues that Rebecca betrayed them, and, by the organization's rules, deserves to die. He pleads with his mother to send him into battle to prove himself by taking down both myself and Rebecca. At the same time, Rebecca is playing with Minhee, but not with dolls. She's teaching the child how to shoot. Yoonju walks in and is horrified, calling Rebecca a cold-blooded psychopath. She fears her innocent daughter will turn into a brutal killer, just like Rebecca. Fortunately, I managed to de-escalate the situation, but I'm also consumed by guilt. I know that all of this, the war, the fear, the family conflict, is my fault. It's the result of a choice made 9 years ago. To mend everything, I gathered Yoonju and Rebecca to make a birthday cake for Minhee. As they baked together, something unbelievable happened. For the first time, Rebecca actually smiled, and it was all thanks to Minhee. In a shocking turn of events, Lee managed to track down Sheik Choi's noodle shop. This proved his reputation to be true. A hunter always found his prey. He forced Sheik Choi's employees to lure him out, knowing it was the only way to get to him. Sheik Choi, who was preparing to hand over my passport, was ambushed by Lee. He fought back fiercely but couldn't match Lee's brutality and was fatally stabbed. Even in his dying moments, Sheik Choi refused to reveal my whereabouts, remaining true to his promise to his friend. But Lee found the passport, and with it, the location of my safe house. He immediately reported to Juno that Sheik Choi had made new passports for me and Rebecca. Feeling betrayed by her student, Juno marched straight to Senator Dawson's office with a dossier. She blamed everything on Rebecca, framing her as a traitor who masterminded the assassination of Russian Ambassador Karpov. That night, I went to a market to meet Sheik Choi, but after waiting 30 minutes, I felt something was wrong. I realized Oliver and Lee's men were watching me from the shadows. I knew I had to act fast. I rushed towards my family, planned to take them to the harbor, and then board a boat to Geoge Island. Upon reaching the harbor, I hired a boat and told Yoonju and Minhee to hide, while Rebecca and I prepared for a fight for our lives. The two of us worked together flawlessly, creating an intricate trap for our enemies. As the enemy numbers dwindled, I lured the remaining ones into a secluded area, leaving Rebecca to confront Oliver while I dealt with Lee. In a brutal battle, I shot Lee and sent him tumbling into the water, unconscious. I then rushed back to check on Yoonju and Minhee before assisting Rebecca. Once Rebecca had Oliver subdued, I threatened to kill him if he didn't reveal everything. With a gun to his head, Oliver finally confessed a shocking secret. 9 years ago, Juno had deliberately set up the mission in the Philippines. She had sold my and Rebecca's information to terrorists to get me killed and gain complete control of Caddis. Hearing the truth, Rebecca and I were filled with rage. Before the story continues, let's rewind to 9 years ago. My team and I were fleeing terrorists in the Philippines. I had just requested support from Juno, but a missile from a drone unexpectedly hit our vehicle. I was horrified to witness my entire team wiped out in the blink of an eye. I was forced to face the terrorists alone. I took them down, but all that remained was a broken man, standing amidst the corpses of my friends. Even then, I had a premonition that Juno had betrayed me, but I had no proof. The next night, a cold and calculating Juno visited 14-year-old Rebecca. With a feigned look of sorrow, she told Rebecca that her father was dead. The news crushed Rebecca, who had now lost both her parents. Back in the present, a team of Caddis agents were at sea, tossing the bodies of their fallen comrades overboard. As they prepared to discard Lee's body, they were shocked when the assassin, who had been shot multiple times and thrown overboard, unexpectedly came back to life. His extraordinary endurance was terrifying. Juno then asked Lee about Oliver, but the assassin didn't know where he was. It was clear I had taken him hostage. Meanwhile, my family and I were hiding in a colossal export warehouse. This was no ordinary warehouse. It belonged to Yunju's father, a powerful and respected mafia boss. Hiding here was the surest way to avoid both the police and Caddis. I went to see my father-in-law to ask for help getting my family to Japan, but the old man, who never accepted me or my dangerous lifestyle, flatly refused. He would protect his daughter and granddaughter, but wanted no part of me or Rebecca. Elsewhere, Senator Dawson was secretly investigating Juno and Caddis. He didn't believe for a second that Rebecca had acted alone in assassinating Karpov. As Juno's former mentor, he knew how she thought and knew she was the mastermind. What he didn't know was that Juno had a mole in her ranks. She learned of the plan to arrest her and decided to take matters into her own hands. In the meantime, Juno sent me a voice message, offering a deal. If I handed Oliver over, she would leave my family alone. Upon hearing this, Rebecca and I immediately had an idea. We went to the warehouse where Oliver was being held for interrogation. Rebecca tried first, but he wouldn't talk. So I employed an old trick, a psychological trap. I edited a voice recording of Juno, making it sound like she didn't care about Oliver and was ready to let him be killed. Though Juno genuinely loved her son, Oliver felt as though he had been abandoned by his own mother. In a fit of rage and anguish, he revealed all of Caddis's secrets. After Oliver's dramatic confession, Rebecca and I knew everything. We discovered that Juno had a secret deal with Karpov, a Russian official, to help infiltrate Russian government with Caddis agents. Once the deal was done, Juno became paranoid that Karpov would betray her, so she ordered Rebecca to kill him. Oliver also revealed his own dark secret. He murdered his best friend, a CIA informant who was on a mission to retrieve Caddis's classified information, and that led Senator Dawson to investigate the matter. Juno had her eyes on the senator, so he was our bait to find Juno. When the truth came out, I threw Oliver in the trunk while Rebecca and I prepared to head to Seoul. Before leaving, I said my heartfelt goodbyes to Yunju and Minhee. Yunju told me that although Rebecca seemed like a psychopath, she still needed her father's love. She believed that with my guidance, Rebecca could heal and become a better person. I also bid farewell to my mother-in-law, a kind and supportive woman. She wished me luck and told me to come back safely so they could live a normal life. Upon arriving in Seoul, Rebecca and I began tracking Senator Dawson's every move. We devised a plan to obtain his daily schedule. I instructed Rebecca to create a distraction by deliberately bumping into the senator's aide, causing him to drop all his belongings. While the aide scrambled to pick them up, I surreptitiously connected a device to his phone. The plan was a resounding success, and I managed to download Senator Dawson's entire day's appointments. Before we made our move, I told Rebecca that she didn't have to be involved anymore. I knew that deep down, she was still torn about fighting Juno, the woman who had raised her. But Rebecca had a new fire in her heart. She was no longer fighting for me. She was fighting for herself. She wanted revenge on Juno for manipulating her entire life. That night, we went to a bustling marketplace where Senator Dawson was scheduled to meet a government official. While we waited, I took the opportunity to introduce Rebecca to some Korean street food, a small but meaningful bonding moment. When the senator and his security detail finally appeared, I called him and requested a private meeting to discuss Juno, claiming I had crucial evidence to bring her down. Rebecca created a diversion, allowing me to speak with the senator in private. During our private conversation, I proposed a deal. I would provide Senator Dawson with all information regarding the Karpov assassination and the CIA informant, as long as the senator helps us take down Juno and Caddis. To seal the deal and make Juno suspicious, I even took Oliver's phone, making it look like Oliver had betrayed her. After striking a deal with Senator Dawson, I intentionally let Oliver go, sending him straight back to his mother. I wanted to sow seeds of doubt in Juno's mind and push her into an inescapable position. By the organization's rules, an agent who reveals secrets must be tortured and eliminated. My plan was simple. I wanted to see if Juno was ruthless enough to kill her own son. The next day, Rebecca and I staked out Oliver's apartment. Inside, a conflicted Juno was trying to figure out if Oliver had betrayed her. She directly asked if he was working with Senator Dawson and if he had revealed Caddis' secrets. Oliver swore he wasn't working with the senator, but admitted he had told me that Juno was the one who set me up 9 years ago. He also confessed his role in Karpov's assassination and the death of the CIA informant. Juno was furious at her son's recklessness, but in the end, he was still her son. She couldn't bring herself to kill him and decided to take him to Caddis headquarters to deal with him discreetly. While they were gone, Rebecca and I broke into the apartment. We installed a sophisticated device that replicated Caddis's own technology. Our goal wasn't just to track Oliver, but to make him paranoid. I knew that when Oliver found the device, he'd assume his mother had planted it, making him feel betrayed. When Rebecca and I left, Oliver found the hidden device. Just as I predicted, Oliver immediately suspected Juno and feared his fate would be the same as all the other traitors who had been executed. Meanwhile, I met with Senator Dawson at a spa. I gave the senator a fake set of Caddis documents and asked him to leak them to his subordinates. I suspected Juno had a spy on the senator's team, and this was the only way to find out who it was. The senator was still skeptical, but his curiosity got the better of him. Just as I predicted, a spy on the senator's team immediately reported the fake information to Juno. Upon hearing the report, Juno's suspicion of Oliver grew even stronger. Her assistant even suggested killing him. But Juno wasn't ready to go that far. Instead, she ordered her assistant to send Lee to hunt me down, believing I was hiding somewhere near headquarters. Juno then desperately called her ex-husband for advice. He said Oliver was too soft for the spy world and advised her to send him back home to London, a suggestion that only made Juno more annoyed. On the run, Rebecca and I finally had a chance to live as a real family. We cooked together and spent time doing the things we had missed for 9 long years. During our time together, Rebecca opened up to me, asking how she could stop killing. She felt her humanity was fading with every life she took. I told her there was no cure for a killer's soul. The only way she could regain her humanity was to live a normal life, a life where she didn't have to fear. After the heart-to-heart, Rebecca started building a new bomb for her next plan. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to us, Lee had found our hideout and was lurking nearby. At the same time, Juno made a last-ditch effort to save her son, begging Oliver to leave South Korea and take a job as a banker in London, just like his father. She knew if he stayed, other Caddis agents would kill him for spilling secrets. But Oliver refused, seeing banking as a coward's job. He still wanted to prove himself worthy of the Caddis. In a moment of desperation, Oliver stormed out of the apartment. But as he got into his car, he had no idea that I had rigged it with a bomb. Rebecca and I followed him, luring him to a desolate, remote area. From a distance, I disabled Oliver's electric car. When Oliver got out of the car, the bomb detonated and the car erupted in flames. Horrified, Oliver immediately assumed his own mother was trying to kill him. At that very moment, all his loyalty to Juno shattered, and he decided to betray her completely by cooperating with Senator Dawson. Oliver promised to expose all his mother's crimes in exchange for protection from the senator, the FBI, and the CIA. Shortly thereafter, Senator Dawson received all the intel he needed. He thanked me, and, as a small token of his gratitude, promised not to arrest Rebecca for her role in Karpov's assassination. Feeling like we had achieved a small victory, Rebecca and I celebrated, but our joy was short-lived. Lee and a squad of Caddis agents ambushed us, forcing me to blow up the building to escape. In the ensuing chaos, I made my escape, but Lee captured Rebecca. In a desperate attempt to save her, I stole a motorcycle and gave chase, but I got stuck in traffic and lost Lee's car, failing to save my daughter. With her hands tied, Rebecca was brought before Juno. Despite everything that had happened, Juno still felt a deep emotional connection to her. She wanted to kill Rebecca for her betrayal, but a part of her couldn't. Instead, she tried to lure her back to Caddis, but Rebecca was too smart to fall for Juno's trap. Juno tried to divide Rebecca and me by saying I had a new family and would never truly care about her. But Rebecca saw through the lie. She feigned innocence and told Juno that she wanted to come back, exploiting Juno's longing for loyalty. Juno then convinced her to leave the headquarters, just as Senator Dawson and the FBI prepared to raid the building. At the same time, I returned to the safe house to find Yunju. In a moment of desperation, I begged my father-in-law for help. I needed weapons and an army to confront Juno and her entire organization. As a notorious mafia boss, my father-in-law had everything I needed. But he wouldn't give it for free. He offered to help me on one condition. I had to assist him in future illegal dealings. Hesitantly, I agreed. Without hesitation, my father-in-law gave me everything I asked for. With a new army and arsenal, I launched a full-scale assault. I sabotaged the transportation system to trap Juno's convoy, forcing them into a desolate area far from the city. As soon as they arrived, my men attacked from all sides, overwhelming Juno's forces. Lee was dispatched to handle the ambush, but I confronted him directly. The two of us had a final, brutal mano-a-mano. Though we were evenly matched, my experience and cunning gave me the edge. I defeated Lee, ending our feud. Meanwhile, Rebecca had escaped and taken down all of Juno's bodyguards. She had Juno at her mercy, but couldn't deliver the final blow. When I arrived to finish her off, Rebecca stopped me, saying Juno was already a broken woman, having lost everything. She wanted her to live with the consequences of her actions. I agreed, leaving Juno to her fate. My family was finally safe. Juno, on the other hand, returned to America a broken woman, while her son, Oliver, was taken by the FBI as a key witness to her crimes. My family and I finally had a chance at a normal life. We all sat down for a celebratory dinner, and for the first time, Yunju and Rebecca bonded as a true mother and daughter. But I had a bad feeling in my gut. I have a hunch that this piece is just the beginning of something much bigger. After dinner, Yunju and Rebecca went to the bathroom and didn't come back. A few minutes later, I found Yunju lying on the floor, blood gushing from a fatal wound on her neck, while Rebecca was nowhere to be seen. The story ends with a big question mark. Was Rebecca the one who killed her stepmother, or was this another of Juno's schemes? My story ends here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you again.